So I don't know if what we're about to watch is real, but if it is, this is absolutely insane. This is a video by the Exclusive Ace, which lends me to believe that this is indeed real. He uploaded a video called How to See Your Hidden Skill Rating in Call of Duty, which means that the skill-based matchmaking or engagement optimized matchmaking or ELO or SR rating for regular unranked matches is somehow visible, and I am so curious. By the way, mic's still broken, still waiting to fix this bad boy, but hopefully this does sound okay. You can let me know down in the comments how the audio quality is, but let's dive in and see what Ace is saying about this, because I am fascinated. What's up, guys? My name is Ace.
What's up, guys? My name is Ace, and today I wanted to share a very interesting discovery with Black Ops 6, or with Call of Duty in general, and this is the fact that we can actually see our hidden skill ranking.
This is
and beyond
almost
that, we can actually see a
unbelievable.
bunch of data on every single match we have played on our accounts since Call of Duty Vanguard. And because of this, you can actually track that hidden skill rating over time, going back several years. And as far as my data goes, here's my skill ranking over time since the launch of Black Ops 6. Every one of these lines indicates a match that I've played, and this shows every single public match of Black Ops 6 I've played since the game launched, and what my exact skill rating was going into each of those games. So we're going to be taking...
So it seems that like he heads off around 400. Is that correct? Or 4? So does it go 0 to 5, 5 being absolute top tier, and he's around a 4? Is that correct?
A much deeper look at this throughout the video, and I'm going to point out a few observations that I've made regarding this. But before we do that, I want to show you guys how you can get this data for yourself.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Now, there is a little bit of a process to it and a slight waiting period as well. It took about a day for me to get this data after sending the request. And I actually found out about this through one of my followers on Twitter. I failed many times on stream pronouncing his name, so I'm just going to put it on the screen right here. So big shout out to you. Thank you so much for pointing this out for me so I can share it with the community. But essentially, to get this data for yourself, you have to go to the Activision site. I will leave this link down below, and you want to submit a new request for your data. Then you pick your country, read all the terms and conditions, of course, and then you select your request type. And the one that you want here is access my personal information, and from there, it's going to get you to log into your accounts. And this is the official Activision website, so it is a secure site. This isn't some third-party thing. So you can log into whatever accounts you want there. For me, I play on PlayStation, so I had to log into my PlayStation account. And once you complete all these steps, you have now sent a data request. And for me, about a day later, I got an email with all of my data. Now, this is going to come in an HTML format, which is not ideal, but you can actually import this into something like Google Sheets, so it's in a spreadsheet, which is what I did, and then it's going to show you everything. All the data of every single match that you've played since Call of Duty Vanguard, it appears, which is pretty crazy to see. And keep in mind, this also contains all of your personal data, including your IP address and everything, so this isn't the type of thing you want to be sharing around. It's for your eyes only. But obviously, for the purpose of this video, I just deleted all of that data so you don't end up seeing it, and we're just seeing the actual match data. And the most interesting stat out of all of this is the skill stat, because this is something that has been previously hidden to us. Now, initially, when looking at this, I thought skill on this was the skill level of the lobby, but no, this does appear to be your skill ranking over time, which is honestly a bit unfortunate. I would personally rather see the...
So the fact that this has been in there since Vanguard says a lot to me. First of all, this means that indeed your skill-based rating, or SR rating, skill rating, whatever you want to call it, is indeed been a thing since before Vanguard, or at least since Vanguard, and that it carries over game after game after game after game, which honestly is kind of shocking to me. This is insanity.
Lobby skill level that I was getting into in each of these matches, but unfortunately, you don't get access to that data, only your personal skill rating.
Yeah, so
this unfortunately does limit our ability to fully analyze everything that's going on with the matchmaking system, for instance.
Your own data,
and it's more so just an interesting value to be able to see and track for yourself. Although at the moment, I also don't have much context surrounding this skill number. I honestly don't know what a good skill rating is. I don't know what the maximum is, for instance. And that's actually one of the things that I wanted to ask from you guys. For anybody that does submit this and access their personal data, obviously I don't want you sharing your entire spreadsheet or anything with me. But if you do go through this process, I'd really appreciate if you could come back to this video and just let me know what your current skill rating is, as well as your overall elimination death ratio in Black Ops 6. Now, I know elimination death ratio doesn't necessarily paint the whole picture as far as what somebody's skill level is, but as far as a single stat
I will request my data on this. At least I'll send it in tonight. I'm recording this the night before that you guys are seeing this video, I will request mine and I will put a video up with all the information that I have as well.
Those that we have publicly available, it's probably the best stat that we have. And I'm just curious to see what kind of correlations may exist here when it comes to skill rating versus your elimination death ratio. And I'm also curious to know, like, how high can this get? I noticed for me, at least when I'm not doing testing, and I will be pointing out a few chunks where I was doing testing and it did drop my skill rating, and we'll talk about that. But if I'm not doing testing, I notice my skill rating tends to hover around the high 300s to low 400s.
Yeah.
And I have hit a maximum skill rating at 436 personally. But I want to know, how high can that get? Does this cap out at 500 or 600?
If this is a thing that they literally have in everything, just make it visible, man. Like, if this is something that is really determining who you're going to play against, why not make it visible? Why not make it visible, and why not make it different per game mode? Why not make the Call of Duty experience as a whole, just make every game mode ranked? Why is ranked even a thing? Why can't I just play Search and Destroy, have my SR rating in Search and Destroy, because I already do. I have so many questions when it comes to this.
I honestly don't have a clue, and since I can't be accessing other people's personal data, that's why I'm left relying on you guys to come back here and leave this information in the comments. But with that out of the way, let's dive into my skill data over time since the launch of Black Ops 6. Keeping in mind, I did eliminate every single one of my custom game matches because those will show up as well. But in those, they're really easy to identify since your skill rating value for that is always 0. So I just deleted all of those from my spreadsheet. And that left me with all of my public matches that are available here. And the first thing I really wanted to see is if there was any sort of correlation with my kill-death ratio over time as well. So I also made a graph of that to overlay on top of this skill data. And I did cap it out at a 5KD. There are a bunch of matches where I did go over that 5KD value.
Okay.
And diving deeper, you might notice this chunk right here. This is actually when I was doing my double XP testing, where in these matches, I was literally getting one kill or elimination and then backing out and then comparing my XP value after the match compared to before the match, which allowed me to isolate exact XP data. So that's why we're seeing this chunk here. And I noticed after this chunk, there was a pretty sharp decline in my skill rating, even when I started playing normally again, and even when I was playing well normally.
So almost as though it takes a while to adjust.
Time. So that does seem to show that this is a rolling average over time. And even immediately after I started playing well, it didn't adjust my skill rating right away. And in fact, it still kept dropping until suddenly it just shot straight up. And this was quite surprising to me. From one match to the next, my skill value went from 198 all the way up to 385.
So
and the interesting thing is, looking at the matches before that, I'd been playing well for several matches. I was getting between about a 2 to 4.5 kill death ratio in every one of those matches leading up to this. And yet it took a while for the skill rating to adjust. And then when it did, it was a very sudden adjustment.
His kill death dropped
it nearly
to
doubled immediately. And it's not like I had a really exceptional game the game before that. It was just another good game.
So it continued to
what the situation seems to show is if you are backing out of lobbies regularly for several games in a row, it does appear to drop your skill rating quite drastically over time. But then as you start performing well again for several games in a row, then it will immediately shoot right back up to where you belong, or at least where it thinks you belong.
Oh boy, people are going to be backing out of games like crazy.
Another thing I noticed, which isn't surprising at all, but I still wanted to point it out. Your skill rating doesn't always perfectly correlate with how you performed in the recent matches. And that's likely due to the fact that we're also missing the lobby skill data.
Yes.
So what I noticed here is many times I would have a game where I performed fairly poorly.
See, this is why Ace is the person that needed to find this. Because I wouldn't have thought of that. I'm not that smart. But he is. And yeah, so what he's saying there is he had that like one game after his SR jumped up that he had a 7.0 kill death. Now, we don't know what the actual lobby data was. Like, was he playing against a bunch of 400 SR players, or was he playing against a bunch of 200 SR players? And then how does it adjust based off of that? That's information that we don't have. But I'm going to come back to my opinion on this later on.
Yeah, I was right around like a 1 kill death ratio. Not really an exceptional game by any means, but my skill rating would go up after that game. Whereas I had other games where I performed very well. I had over like a 3 kill death ratio, lots of kills, very few deaths. And my skill rating would actually drop slightly after that game.
Which is wild.
And to me, it seems the missing factor there is the skill level of my opponents in those lobbies. And then the games where my skill rating went up, despite the fact that if you're just looking at my performance data in that match, it didn't look like I performed well. In those cases, I was likely in a very high-skilled lobby, and therefore even just performing...
So really... Oh my god, I have so much to say about this. Like, what this is sounding like is not skill-based matchmaking at all. It sounds like what this number is not actually... It is a skill number, but the lobbies that you're put in aren't about that skill number. They're actually about your engagement and you playing longer, which honestly would be better if it was based off of your skill number than engagement wise, because that's when it starts to feel disingenuous and that the game is just trying to trick you into, oh my God.
At that level meant that I was exceeding where my current skill level expected me to perform, and that's why my skill rating went up. Whereas in the other cases where I did really well, but my skill rating went down, it was likely in a very easy lobby that the game put me in, and it expected me to do even better than that. And because I didn't meet that expectation, it...
Oh my God. Like, can you imagine if you played, like I remember playing Halo 3 back in the day, and you just kept trying to get a higher SR rating, and they put you into brackets, and there was like a brigadier general or whatever you were rated, and you tried to get that higher and higher. Could you imagine if it worked like this, where you would play, it would put you in a crappy lobby, and you'd destroy the lobby and win the game, and you'd still go down? I mean, that has happened in other games, but this is just this
drop
this
down.
is a mess.
And that's one of the big reasons I really wish we could have access to the lobby skill data as well. That would allow us to take a much deeper look at how the matchmaking systems are working and how this personal skill level is interacting with that. Is he going to give his opinion on this? I hope he does. But unfortunately, that's not available. We used to have a public API, which would allow us to kind of see that data, or at least it would give us a collection of data that we could use to infer the skill level of the lobby. But I think they didn't like the fact that people were taking a deep look at that and breaking those things down and actually assigning values, especially on the Warzone end, to various lobbies and what the skill level of those lobbies were.
So can you do
what
this
we have
for
now
Warzone?
Is the best that we can get. And while on one hand, I like the fact that we can actually see our skill rating now, and I have wanted to see these values for a long time, without the extra context attached to that, there's only so much information we can really gather here.
Like, it's just going on a scale
one of the big
of
reasons
1 to,
that I at least want to know what the value
500?
of this skill rating is. What is a good skill rating? What's a not so great skill rating? Where do I stand relative to the community? Since there's really no way of judging that.
But like, that's the thing, right? Is if that is your question, if that is what you're wondering, shouldn't it just be more so the fact, let's just make this public? Let's just, like,
properly just based on your performance in the game, due to the fact that the games are formed algorithmically based on your skill. And in saying that, I know I've said this many times over the years, I would love to be able to see this skill rating in the game, like in your combat record. It would be great to be able to track where you actually stand.
Why?
Just like we could in X-Defined. I love tracking that value over time to see it go up and down, depending on my performance and the types of players I've been playing against.
What is the point?
And with that, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure I was spreading the word on this, so if you guys are interested in finding out what your skill rating is, or maybe you want to analyze a bunch of the other match data we've had collected since Call of Duty Vanguard, now you can do that. So again, the big thing I'm asking from you guys is if you do go through this data collection process, please, once you get your data, come back to this video. Let me know what your skill rating is, as well as your elimination death ratio, if you don't mind sharing.
I hope he does a video on that.
And if you guys enjoyed this video, a like rating is always appreciated.
I really hope he puts together like a document
for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
This is like, so to me, this is absolutely like wild. Like, just absolutely wild that this is a thing for so many reasons. Because first of all, if you're going to go to this extent, and you're going to have this, and you're going to have your SR associated with every single game that you play, and it's going to dictate who you play next, what you play next, and who you're playing against, why would you just not make it a public number, and make it a thing that you have to grind for, and try to increase, and do better with? And there doesn't even necessarily have to be cosmetic rewards or anything that goes along with it, because it seems to be what Call of Duty goes to for everything. But if you're going to have this, just make it public. Make it so that it is a part of the goddamn game. Because it is a part of the game, you just can't see it. And because we can't see it, it just seems fake. It feels like we're playing a fake game that only the puppeteers up above us can actually control. So essentially, when you have this, I think you really have two options. Just get rid of the matchmaking based off of that skill. Sure, you can keep the skill ratings, but just get rid of that matchmaking stuff. Why does it have to be so algorithmic? Like, that's insanity to me. So that's option number one. And then option number two is just get rid of the skill-based matchmaking, which as we know, is never going to happen. But like before, we were in a point where they just wanted to deny that this was a thing. And then they said, okay, this is a thing. And now it's public. We can actually see the data. It is insanity to me that this is there in existence. And only we can see it if we request our data. And like, it's a part of the game. At this point, we just have to accept it's a part of the game. So you might as well build it in and make it an actual part of the game. And maybe this is a wrong opinion. Maybe I'm insane here. But like, I don't know. The whole thing just seems insane. Does this not seem insane? Am I insane? Am I insane? I might be going insane. I think I'm going insane.